I've just been through the most amazing experience of learning to ride a motorcycle. In fact, it's been such a unique and incredible experience, it's changed my life. And I believe that in sharing my journey, I can help you. The process I followed in learning to ride had me quickly fearing my motorcycle less and enjoying the experience of riding more, and that can happen for you, especially if you're a new or hesitant rider, even a seasoned rider looking to level up. If you're anything like me and you want to be successful at something, you seek out someone who's already doing it successfully, and you simply do what they do. I mean, really, why would you be watching a YouTube video about learning how to ride a motorcycle and overcoming fear if you weren't at least a little bit like me? But before I can get into it, let me share a little of my background so you can gain a sense for just how transformative it was for me and how transformative it can be for you. That's the purpose of this short video, so sit back, relax, and let's get into it. To give you a sense of where I'm coming from, I grew up in a family where motorcycles were strictly off limits, seen as dangerous and not something you'd ever consider doing. For most of my life, I never even entertained the thought of riding one. Then I met Mike. He rode a motorcycle, and that alone made me hesitant to date him. I was just like many of you might be, unsure and a little scared. But I liked him enough to take a chance. I'll never forget that first ride. Mike pulled up to my house on his bike, and the sound of the engine rumbling down the street was both intimidating and exciting. His motorcycle was big and loud, and when I climbed onto the passenger seat, my fear of motorcycling was right there with me. It was one of the first warm days of spring, and Mike made sure I had a helmet and proper riding gear before heading out onto the beautiful New England roads. As we started moving, I was struck by how smooth and stable it felt. I had expected it to be wobbly and unpredictable, but it was surprisingly comfortable, like gliding over the road. We probably didn't go more than 100 miles that day, but with every mile, the fear began to melt away. In its place, I started to feel the exhilaration of being on a motorcycle, the freedom of the open air, and the simple joy of being close to Mike as we rode together. Years later, we got married. What was your first experience with motorcycles? What, if anything, held you back? I remember the day I decided to take the MSF course. It was a long, hot day at the end of a trip. I was on the back of our bike and my phone battery died. I was bored, hot, and I got to thinking, if so many other women could ride a motorcycle, why couldn't I? So I mentioned to my husband, I think I'll take the MSF course and see if I like it. The next thing I know, I'm enrolled in a course and I'm picking out my own motorcycle. I was terrified, but I felt myself warming up to the idea of riding my own bike. My biggest fear when I started riding my own motorcycle was not being able to handle it on the road and having something catastrophic happen. And I thought it was going to take a long time to learn to ride well enough to ride anywhere with my husband. Once I had my MSF endorsement, I was street legal, but the street was the last place you'd find me on my motorcycle, at least not for the next 1,000 miles. I had just gone from not knowing how to turn a motorcycle on to being street legal. How did you fare getting your motorcycle endorsement? What was your experience like? I barely passed my MSF course and I was a basket case the entire time taking it. And I don't know if you're this cautious, but I simply couldn't imagine hopping on my bike and riding it on the road before I had some serious practice time in. I hired my MSF instructor to give me some private lessons to get me going. I had 3 2-hour lessons with him, and he gave me specific drills from the MSF course I could practice in between sessions. At the same time, Mike had introduced me to a couple of YouTube channels that taught how to operate a motorcycle. I saw a woman who was 4'10" riding a Harley-Davidson Road King, and I was so inspired. There had to be a technique to what she was doing. She couldn't even touch the ground. I wanted to ride like her. Who are the people that inspired you to ride? Then there was this channel called Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle. The channel name alone really resonated with me. I wanted to be the boss of my motorcycle. And the host, Robert Simmons, was a retired highway patrol lieutenant from New York City.
Bingo, I had found my Moto-Mentor on YouTube. When you're first learning something, do you seek professional coaching or do you like to figure things out for yourself? I was coming from a place of not wanting to die on a motorcycle. My first priority was to learn from an expert so I could avoid building bad habits from the start. I started integrating the steps Robert taught me into my practice drills that my MSF coach had given me. That's when I found my confidence increasing. To my amazement, these steps actually made doing the exercises much easier and I felt more in control. This reinforced my belief that I could actually learn how to ride with confidence. These small wins kept me going, and they'll keep you going too. My motorcycle fear and anxiety were being replaced with confidence and poise. Imagine handling your motorcycle as skillfully and gracefully as a motor officer. That's how that lady who was 4'10" was riding. I started this channel because I know what it's like to be a flat-out no to motorcycling. Feeling afraid and unsure about it would be an understatement. To have gone from that to being addicted to riding was transformational for me. I started from scratch at 60, and within a few short months, I had the skills and confidence to take a 12-day ride with my husband on my own motorcycle. I've since ridden over 40,000 miles across many states as a competent and confident rider. We've continued to practice our slow speed drills weekly. We've even inspired other riders in our area to practice with us. Everyone is enjoying leveling up their skills. I want to inspire more riders to say the same thing I said when I saw that 4'10" woman riding an 800-pound bike like it was an extension of her body. If she can do it, I can too. What if learning to ride with grace and poise and confidence was not as difficult as you might think? Imagine how you would feel to cruise through parking lots and tight spaces at a crawl without that twinge of angst to put your feet down. If you needed to bang a U-turn, you just did it without a thought. What if every slow speed maneuver you were like, I've got this, or bring it? Once I realized that practicing slow speed drills was the pathway to riding like that, and I learned that only 2% of riders rode with that level of skill, I wanted to demonstrate that it's not as difficult as you might think. It can be learned, and it's accessible and fun, and it will enhance whatever enjoyment you presently get from riding 1,000-fold.
This channel is for anyone who is serious about overcoming rider anxiety and to ride with less fear and more control. Don't let fear hold you back. Start with one small practice and see how it changes your perspective. Consistency is key to building these techniques into your riding habits, and it'll be worth it, especially if you're feeling hesitant and stuck. Please share your stories, both your fears and your wins, in the comments so that we can work through them and celebrate together. Thank you for tuning in. I'm excited to share more tips and content focused on helping you fear your motorcycle less and enjoy the experience of riding more in upcoming videos. And remember, practice with purpose so you can ride with confidence.